Hello, everybody. It is time for our next installment of As the Banks Turn. Well, maybe not the best title for it, but whatever. Today's video, we're going to be specifically showing you how to go through the Chase Bank PPP loan application process. Now, this will be after you've already submitted your interest for this, which you should have already done by this point. You will then get notified that you're ready to submit your application and go through this entire process. So if you are working with Chase Bank and you're trying to figure out if you can get approved for a PPP loan, this is the video for you. All right, thank you again for joining us for another video. We're hoping that for much longer here, we will be able to return back to some of the more exciting and fun videos of showing you how to do cool tips and tricks with your accounting and different workflow and such, but we do feel that it's important to try to get this information out for everybody to be able to see it. I wanted to very quickly say thank you to everybody who's taken the time to subscribe. We do truly appreciate it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit the button below, but let's dive in. So what we have at this moment, we are basically going straight through the entire process. Again, we've logged into our actual Chase account on this for this specific client. We're going to go click on Learn More, and you're going to come to this page, as you can see. Now, by now, I'd like to say that you should know most of the criteria for this. This part really hasn't changed much, that you have to be an existing Chase Bank customer since February 15th. You cannot have already received a PPP loan from Chase, and that you haven't applied for one from another financial institution. Tells you minimum loans 1,000, maximum is 10 million. So you'll read through all this stuff, make sure you're comfortable with all of this. It does tell you should only have one Chase browser window open, and I do recommend that you take that into consideration. Be sure that you take the time, have everything prepared ahead of time, so you don't have what I just had happen where it times out and kind of boots you back out. So we'll continue through here now at this point. And now we're getting into the actual application itself. It is very important for you to guys go through, read all of the details inside of here. It's talking about the specifics. We've covered this in other videos before, so to try to expedite this one, I'm not going to go through it again since you'll have to land on it anyways. Let's see here. We'll click next on the first part. It does tell you what will be forgiven and how it will. And then the next thing you're going to come upon is this screen here. So on this screen, the first thing that you would do is you're going to choose which business you would like a loan from. So this has to do with if you have multiple accounts under Chase, you would see which one you want it to go to. It's going to ask you is if your business is owned by another business. So in this scenario, it's a no. If it's a yes, it does change things a bit. Are you an owner of the business? You would say yes if you are the actual owner. We do strongly recommend that it should be the business owner that is filling this stuff in. If you wish to do like a Zoom meeting with them to help them cover portions of it and maybe advise them that way, it might be a way to go, but they should be the one filling it in. Choose your business entity type. And then you're going to read all your stipulations here. Test, they understand the requirements. Next. Then on the next screen, you're going to see, especially if you actually have a personal account with them as well and they're tied together, you would normally see a whole bunch of personal information here, which we will have blocked out and covered up, of course, with just an image being held here. Now, from there, the next thing that you need to choose is you'd have to choose your citizenship. We are a U.S. citizen, assuming that you are, of course. And then you're going to have, please answer the questions below. Then you would see your business information listed here as well. Again, we're blocking it out for privacy reasons. Once you've gone through all of this, you'll scroll down, and this is where the next major bit of information is going to come into play. So there are going to be quite a few different questions you have to go through. So this is the information that they're going to ask you. Of course, the company name would be filled in, but you would have your annual revenues that you need to pull up from a prior, your 2019 profit and loss, of course. how long have they owned the business, and we go straight to the SOS, California SOS, Statement of Information, whatever is appropriate for your state, to make sure we grab the right date for that. Another question they're going to ask is the number of employees. Now, this is really being used because of later questions, which will be like, how many new jobs will this money create, or how many, they're trying to find out how many people you're keeping employed is what I'm trying to say. Now, we've gone through and we've calculated the monthly payroll cost, which is a whole different video in itself. A good buddy, Hector Garcia, actually does a great video on this, and I'll try to link to that so you can check that as well. Just know that that is consistently changing all the time. So definitely something to be cognizant of. We took the monthly payroll cost, times it by 2.5, because we need to know what the max loan amount is going to be. And then other questions it asks you on this form are utilities. How are you planning to spend this money? And we'll show you in a moment. So it's utilities, rent, payroll cost, mortgage interest, interest on old debt prior to 2/15/2020, and any group healthcare benefits and insurance premiums. Now, keep in mind that the way this has been written up, payroll costs must be a minimum of 75% of the expense, used for 75% of the expense for it to potentially be forgiven, which is why we added on calculation here so we could do the percentage, make sure that we've got it all set up. Now, on top of that, Chase does something really interesting, that they make it to where you have to spend the entire amount of money that you're going to be borrowing. One of the things I want to draw attention to for everybody is they have us do this multiplication of 2.5, right? So 2.5 months. Well, as an accountant, if we're being hyper analytical, there's 4.33 weeks in a month, as they always talk about, which means the 8 weeks, there's bound to be a little extra there still. So if you had a salaried wages all last year and still this year, and it was smack dab perfect, right on the dot, exactly the same, you would still have that extra of 0.5. That's the part that could potentially be used for like utilities, for rent, so forth. Now, last year, if you had really low payroll and you had increased the number of employees this year, so your payroll is a lot higher, then the PPP loan is going to basically cover whatever it can. You'd end up using 100% for it, and it may not cover all of your payroll, something to keep in mind. And then the vice versa would be true. If you had a really heavy payroll the prior year, and then this year had a lot less, then it would be a situation that it would cover all the payroll expense. You may have extra that you could use to then cover the rent and utilities for a total of 8 weeks maximum. That's, again, from the day you get funded, 8 weeks of expenses is how that's supposed to be used and tracked. But you may not need the whole amount, and you can't change that 75%, 25%. Super, super, super important. So hoping this didn't time out real quick here, I'm going to just quickly add the stuff in. So we had our average monthly payroll amount, which is what we had set up there. We'll go 14710. They don't like decimals, if I remember correctly. So we'll get rid of those. Outstanding amount of any economic injury disaster loan made between January 31st and April 3rd. So this date keeps going pushed forward. This is 0 in this circumstance. A scenario where this could possibly have happened: the hurricanes or tornadoes that just hit Tennessee. The economic injury disaster loan, that has been around for some time as a reminder. So it's not just for the COVID issue. It could have been something else, and that's where you might have something there. I still don't know of anybody who's actually received money directly from the initial up to $10,000 advance. So this automatically calculates for us by going the 2.5, and now it's going to be asking us for our utilities. It's asking us for our rent. And again, these numbers I did for 2 months, expecting 8 weeks, an 8-week period is why I did that. And then we're going to have 3, 6, 7. Mortgage, we had nothing. So now we can see that it's adding our total. And again, it must equal the full loan amount. Refinance eligible EIDL, so that would be up here. So let's pretend that we had 5,000 here, right? That would change to 41 there. This here would be 5,000. And the refinance eligible, it's because if any payroll was used out of that initially, that's what they're talking about for the refinance part of it. So not necessarily the whole thing would be. We're going to put it back to 0 because we're not using it. The annual business revenues it wants to know as well. And when did you own the business since? Now, this is an interesting one. We incorporated this business last year. They've been around for a couple years, but it was a sole proprietor prior to this. Number of employees, 3. And are you eligible for are you an eligible passive company? Now, what that means is the SBA defines an eligible passive company, or an EPC, as an entity that does not engage in regular and continuous business activities, which leases real or personal property to an operating company for use in the operating company's business. So you could have a company that owns the property and then leases it to the operating company for them to use it. That would be an example of that. So we're going to say no on this one. But again, I should also say it's lease real or personal property. So it could be equipment as well. So number of jobs created by the loan. I mean, they're going to love that if you're adding new ones on. This one we're trying to retain. Is your business mailing address the same as its physical address? Yes. If you say no, it's going to pop up the ability for you to put a different address in, and then you're going to go check this box if your information is correct. So basically saying that you've reconfirmed all the details. And then you would go next. So on this new screen, we're going to have this review ownership information. So anybody that's listed as an owner, you would need to add it in. Again, if you have a personal account and all those details, it will be pulled in and automatically showing that information for you as well. You have to check the box, certifying that you know that the information is correct as well. So as we go into the next screen now, it's going to have our questions here. You're going to do yes or no on each of them. Is the applicant or any owner of the applicant presently suspended, debarred? Same kind of questions. If the answer to this is yes, loan will not be approved, as we said earlier. So it is a no on this one. Has the owner or any owner ever obtained a direct or guaranteed loan from the SBA that they were delinquent or defaulted on? Is the applicant or any individual owning 20% or more of the equity of the applicant subject to an indictment, criminal information, arraignment, so forth? Again, these are all questions that we've seen through other ones as well. And then you have to click and say that you attest that it's like initialing, like you do in the other banks. Within the last 5 years for any felony, pled guilty, no contest, so forth. Again, this one is a no. If you have yes, and you must be honest on, of course, this would not be approved. Must attest. If the applicant is an owner or have common management with any other business. So again, I find it interesting that they've asked these questions already throughout all this stuff, but they're asking us again through all these things. Has the applicant received an SBA economic injury disaster loan between January 31st and April 3rd? If your answer is yes, please provide details in the space below, which would populate up. We have not. Is the United States the principal place of residence for all? This one's different. Principal place of residence for all employees of the applicant included in the applicant's payroll calculation above. That is different. That is not the same that everybody else has said. What this is talking about is if you actually have employees maybe in Canada, we have a couple companies that have dual citizenship, that you can't use those employees' wages. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's asking about those wages. If I say no, it would be a red flag. Now this one is everybody is U.S. resident, of course. And is the applicant a franchise that is listed in the franchise directory, SBAs, I should say? Then no. So click next onto the next one. So now we're almost done. Now we get to start uploading all of our different documentation. So the payroll document, they basically set this up that you're going to have the ability to do one payroll document, and you want to combine all that stuff together into a single PDF is really what's suggested. Can't be any bigger than 5 megabytes. File types, JPEG, PNG, PDF. And then you can do up to 4 supporting documents as well that you can upload those same kind of formats. If you don't provide the calculation, your application may be delayed. So what we did is we did in Excel, we basically made sure we set the print area for the area we wanted to capture, and then we printed to PDF and put it as part of our primary packet. So we will upload all of those documents at this time. So after you go through, you submit all of the different documents, and I should add on, you cannot have a file name that's more than 50 characters long. So be careful. If you have an error, it'll pop up, it'll tell you. You have to go through and certify all of these details, which again, I'll let everybody go through, read through these details, make sure it's appropriate for you. You have to check off each. By choosing submit to apply below, you certify. These have been on all of the other ones before as well. So you should go reading through that again. It's going to say the loan amount, loan term period here, which is nice. Interest rate is at 0.98% based on 360 days a year, it looks like. Payments will be deferred for 6 months. So if this is approved, your first payment will not be due for 6 months. Forgiveness of any principal under the loan must be requested by the borrower within the timelines established by the SBA. Super, super, super important. So you need to be marking the calendar ahead of time. You have to do this pretty far in advance to make sure that you might be forgiven. If you don't do it, no forgiveness. If approved, the loan will be funded directly to your Chase Bank business banking checking account. Now, we strongly suggest to everybody, if they're going to put it right into your account, immediately open up a new account, put that money into a separate account. You need to track everything where that money goes, like meticulously. Super, super, super important. And the last thing we'll do is do the submit to apply. We have received your loan request. They'll be reviewing it and get back to us. So that is the entire process going through, showing you all the specifics of it. Again, we hope these videos are helping you guys to at least have foreknowledge of what is going to pop up out of these, what to expect when you're jumping into these applications. For me, I find it very frustrating every time I go to do one of these, having to basically jump in, try to do screenshots, everything else, make sure I understand exactly what it is they're asking for, because it's not all consistent across the different banks. We just had a situation like this is being filmed on April 7th. Literally late last night on the 6th, they updated the way the guidance on how the payroll cost is supposed to be calculated. So no matter when you're watching this video, you need to do your own due diligence. You need to research exactly how the payroll cost is calculated and make sure that you have the most up-to-date version. As a reminder, I am not a certified public accountant, nor am I an attorney. So the information provided in this video we've done so in hopes to try to assist you through the process to help expedite it, but it is up to you to reach out to your appropriate service providers that can help you with this. You should have an accountant that can help you take care of these things. If not, of course, you're welcome to reach out to Parkway, where we are always accepting new clients. We'd love to help people out. But again, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and see you on the next one.